Looking at some of the books that have come out in the last decade, one of the most important would be McNamara's volume In Retrospect. Both in the volume itself and much more clearly he went on a book tour and discussed his volume, and I think the paperback edition is slightly different. It's there in print that Kennedy had made a decision to withdraw in 1963. That really has changed the debate. Before that, I should mention it, one of the interesting historians, a very fine man in his own way, was George Cahan, who wrote a book about Vietnam. And in it, he interestingly discusses the withdrawal plans at some length, except he only takes it up as far as July 1963. And when it comes to it actually being implemented, October 63, November 63, there's silence, just as I have to add also in the Pentagon Papers, there is a noticeable gap that there are no documents between NASM 263 of October 11th and what happened after the assassination. There's just a zone of silence there. So I knew Cahan, and I phoned him, and I said, how come you didn't talk about the plan being implemented? Wasn't that the most important part of the plan? And he gave me an extraordinary answer, and he said, you know, I think I was probably influenced by what other people had written on the subject. And what that really means is he had been influenced by what other people had not written on the subject. And we have to recognize that to be a mainstream historian, you have to observe a certain kind of decorum. You have to treat the assassination as if it was, some people call it an act of God, some people call it the act of a demented lone nut. But a mainstream historian will not go into what factions would have been interested in getting rid of Kennedy. And for a long time, by the same sense of decorum, a mainstream historian would not discuss the evidence for a plan for withdrawal. But McNamara has made it very clear that there was, and Jamie Galbraith has added to that because he, first of all, McNamara himself was able to hear the tapes of the October 5th National Security Council meeting, and then the ARRB, petitioned by Galbraith Jr., released them, and people have listened to them, and they're a little hard to decipher, but very clearly you hear the president saying, okay, we will go with the plan.